At the end of World War I, Germany owed millions of dollars to other nations for starting the war. Adolf Hitler rose to power in 1934. He then began to build up an army for Germany. He invaded other foreign nations and began to create his own empire. Hitler made alliances with Japan and Italy. They were known as the Axis powers. The Second World War had begun. When Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, an American naval base, on December 7, 1941, America entered the war. America fought in the Pacific as well as Western and Eastern Europe. The United States made alliances with the United Kingdom, Poland, France, Soviet Russia, and many other countries as well. These alliances were known as the Allies. One of the largest operations of the war was Operation Overlord. The Allies invaded Normandy, France, which was occupied by the Nazis when they invaded France. This invasion would decide the fate of the war. Operation Overlord was the code name for the Normandy landings. The operation was to take the Normandy beaches and go into France. Many paratroopers landed behind enemy lines as well to move into France. There, the Allies would fight the Nazis and push them out of France. The actual day that the Allies would land on the beaches was on June 6, 1944. This was to be known as D-Day. The objective of D-Day was to take 5 beaches along the French coast: Omaha Beach, Juno Beach, Sword Beach, Gold Beach, and Utah Beach. Omaha Beach was to be taken by the Americans. It was one of the most difficult beaches to take because it was so heavily defended, and because of the difficult terrain. Omaha Beach had many cliffs and steep slopes. The Germans had the higher ground. Along the side of the cliffs there were Nazi pillboxes, where the Nazis were armed with machine guns. Around 6 o'clock in the morning, on July 6, 1944, American troops began to land on Omaha Beach. The soldiers were transported from their ships to the beaches by landing crafts. Right when the gate from the landing craft was lowered, the Nazis began to fire down upon the Americans. Some were shot before they could even run off the landing craft. The soldiers climbed up the hills and destroyed the artillery on the cliffs. It took the American soldiers about 6 hours to take the beachhead. This day was soon to be nicknamed the longest day. D-Day is one of the bloodiest days in history. There were over 425,000 Allied and Axis casualties. About 2,500 were Americans. 2,000 of those casualties are from Omaha Beach. Who knew that thousands could die on this one day? Although there were hundreds of thousands of casualties, this successful invasion was a crucial turning point in the fate of the war. The Allies took Normandy and began to take France. These events would eventually lead to an overall Allied victory of World War II. D-Day and the Normandy invasions was an important day in history because men fought and died for honor, their countries, and for what they thought was right. That is what courage is. This is a day that we remember. This is a day that we must remember.